November the 19th, got up. I had slept on the couch that night because I have back issues. So, and I got to thinking that I hadn't heard Danny up stewing around. So I went in our bedroom, and he was laying there, and said something to him. He didn't respond, so I shook him, and when I shook him, he woke up. But he tried to talk to me, and he couldn't say anything. And he tried to sit up, and he couldn't sit up. So I knew immediately that Danny had had a stroke. I took off and I called 911. They got here really, really quick. Quickly assessed him, and out they went. That's when I felt like the miracles started happening with Danny, because of how quickly all that took place. I was afraid. I was scared. As bad as he was, I was afraid that I would lose him. When we got into the emergency room, they went ahead and let me go back pretty quickly, and they told me that he had had a massive hemorrhagic bleed, and that there wasn't anything that they could do, and they didn't think that he would make it 24 hours. I had to call my son in San Antonio that's in the Army and tell him, you know, your dad's had a stroke, you need to get home. Stephen said, you know, Mom, I probably won't be able to get there till Monday. I said, son, we don't have till Monday. They're saying Dad will be gone in 24 hours. My son flew in at 8:30 that night. Of course, he made it the 24 hours, and then they were saying that the next 3 days would be critical. They didn't believe that he would make it through the 3 days because they didn't think he'd make it the 24 hours. Well, the neurosurgeon came, and another miracle. I mean, God put Dr. McDonald there right when he needed to be there, because Danny's brain had started to swell more, which it was pushing into the skull, and that would have did a lot of damage, and more so than the stroke itself. So Dr. McDonald went ahead and put the drain in, which in turn was a miracle. So Danny didn't just make it the 24 hours, he made it past the 3 days. And on that third day, we had a friend, Kenny, that Danny did work for, and he came to see Danny, pray with Danny, pray over Danny. I mean, he put his hands on him. Kenny asked me, he said, do you believe in God? And I told him, yeah, you know, I've believed in God since I was 6 years old, and I'm 52 years old, so 46 years. Then Kenny looked at me and he said, but do you have a relationship with God? And I had to tell him no, because I didn't. And so he talked to me a little about, you know, what that meant. And my relationship with God took over from that day forward. That day, I got a peace about what was going on with Danny. I just couldn't have gotten through it without the peace, because I had to have peace to have hope. I had to have peace to have faith. I had to have peace to have belief. I wouldn't have been strong enough without God. And you know, that's who I was listening to. I was listening to God. I was turning to God during this time when a doctor was telling me, you just take him, let it, you know, he's going to be a vegetable. You know, you need to just remove the tubes. We'll sedate him, you know, he'll breathe for a couple days and then he'll pass, you know, peacefully pass. And I was like, no. When that would be going on, I'd find myself saying the serenity prayer a lot in my own head, you know, and just talking to God. You know, I wasn't gonna not believe what God was telling me, you know, and it was God telling me, Danny, you know, he's here for a reason. You know, I have a purpose for him. You know, Danny was in a coma. Yeah, the scan was bad. Danny should have been a vegetable. I wasn't listening to the doctors at the hospital. I was listening to the man that created Danny. And I knew with everything that in my being that there was a reason and there was a purpose, that he was spared. Before Danny's stroke, Danny was a doubter. And he's not today. Danny will tell you, if you ask him, do you believe in God? And he'll tell you yes. If he had died that day, not being a believer, yeah, I would have known where Danny had gone. But if he were to leave me tomorrow, I know where Danny's going now. He'd be in heaven. You know, don't give up. Miracles happen. He's a laying miracle. Look at him. If I had quit believing and given up hope, I would have listened to him and took him off and just let him do the comfort care, and Danny would have died. But I never gave up hope.